Welcome back to Musical Connections. This is Next to Connect. I'm Zach Snow, and joining me right now, my guest needs no introduction. He's one of Newfoundland and Labrador's best rock vocalists out there today, and with his group Thin Love and their brand new album Garbage Street, he shows no signs of slowing down. And if you really want to know if this guy is amazing, he's here in studio to tell me all about himself and his brand new album Garbage Street. Mick Davis, how you doing, brother?
I'm here to tell you how amazing I am.
You really are amazing. You're one of the best rock vocalists Newfoundland and Labrador has ever produced, and this is, I really mean that.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations to your group Thin Love on the new album Garbage Street.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. I got to play a few songs on newfound releases over the past couple of weeks or so.
Thank you for that.
And you had a very successful album release show at the Ship May 17th, and it was also at your in-store concert at Fred's Records. Really great atmosphere, and you also played a really great cover of Twist and Shout.
Thanks.
Now, off the hop here, how are things with you, Mick?
Good, real good. Had a great last couple of weeks with the album coming out. Great reception. Everybody seems to like a different song on the album, or they just like the whole thing, which is good news. And the radio has been really supportive. Get some love from all over the country. So that makes me feel good. Nothing better than seeing your record in the shop and hearing it on the radio.
Yeah, and I believe it's by the time, I would imagine by the time this airs, it would still be right in the top 30 at Fred's.
Yeah, well, the LPs are running out very quickly. They're almost gone. I mean, there might be 20 in existence now. So that's good news. So I'm happy about that, too. That's
pretty insane. And it's pretty insane how much vinyl records have really, come back as the main form of listening to your music, because in a streaming world like this, to see vinyl outsell CDs for the first time since 1987, it's pretty remarkable.
I think the thing it's about live music. Is that when people go to see a band, you want something, you want a memento, you want something to take home, or if you want to meet the band, you want to get something signed. So I think people are buying records even if they don't have a player, or maybe they'll say, well, I'll get one day. But it's like buying a T-shirt these days. And, of course, there's lots of people actually listening on vinyl and all that, the proper systems and everything. It's wonderful. That's how I grew up, and that's how I learned music. Putting the needle on the record and write down the words, hear the chord, and then,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, you're an 80s kid at heart, and you grew up in a time where, in the 80s, hair metal was all the rage, and you also had, a big-name acts like Bryan Adams, as you mentioned off the air here. So, what got you into music in the first place, Mick?
Family, I guess. My brothers, an older brother who played drums, and another brother who played guitar. And my sister just loved the Beatles. We used to sit around a record player just watching it go around and around. With I'll Follow the Sun and those old Beatles songs on there. And everybody played a little bit. My dad played some guitar, my uncles all played, my aunts and my mom plays, everybody plays a little something. So, I don't know, I just got the bug. I picked up a guitar when I was 7, and I could, after playing a G chord for about a month, then all of a sudden I just, my brother Trevor taught me a couple things, and I was playing Johnny Be Good, real quick, and I instantly started playing lead guitar and power chords and playing rock songs. So at 10 years old I had an electric guitar, and then by the time I was 12 I had a 4-piece band playing in high school, at the assemblies and stuff.
That's amazing.
It's just always been there. It's never been a choice.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, of course, you mentioned some of the influences. You talked off the air here about Bryan Adams. And when it comes to your group, the Skinny Gyms, you played hits like, of course, Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, Isley Brothers, and the Beatles' Twist and Shout. So tell me a little bit more about some of the influences that, influenced your musical taste.
Yeah, the 50s is a big thing, early 60s. Greatest decade ever, but maybe, 55 to 65. Or maybe 54 to 64. But that come about because of a love for the Beatles when I was young. Because I would look at the songs and see Roll Over Beethoven, the ones that Paul and John didn't write.
Yeah.
And go, oh, that was written by C. Berry. Well, who the hell is that? And my uncle had this great basement bar with a huge Elvis nut, just Elvis everywhere. So much Elvis you can't see any of it. It's kind of like being down at the Inn of Old, and everything all over the place. Very cool. But he had every record besides Elvis. He had every '50s thing. Everything he kept up all the time. He was the first guy who had the Traveling Wilburys record when that
Oh,
came out.
wow.
And he had it on vinyl. And it was just we all went over to listen to it. It was an event. So it was cool. But I could go over there if I heard of Chuck Berry or Buddy Holly. I could go over to his place and he'd have it. I'd take it, bring it home, learn it, or record it onto a cassette or something and bring it back. So that, and then, I don't know, once I was 20 or so, came into town, you were just looking for gigs to do on a weekly basis. And I thought, well, I don't want to go around playing the Eagles and what everybody else was doing. So I thought, what could I do that was different? So let's do a 50s band and see if that takes. And boy, it sure did. And now every time we play, it's a big dance party. But it's just the simplest form of rock and roll. It's simple, but it's so good. It'll never die. It'll never be broken.
Oh,
and
for sure.
You said Johnny Be Good. I could play that for 24 hours and never get bored. I mean, I swear that's true. It's just that's the greatest thing.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that really stands the test of time. I was actually going to change subject now and talk about the Skinny Gyms, because the Skinny Gyms is your 50s and 60s cover band.
Yes.
And you've had great shows at the Elks Club down on Carpathian Road.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about how that Skinny Gyms band came together.
I think that I had a band called Mick Davis and the Main Drag. That's how it started. But we didn't.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't do strictly 50s. We did a little bit of everything, but a fair bit of Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran and that kind of stuff. And that sort of split. And I think we were backing up Blair Harvey. It was me and Elliot and my brother Trev, maybe Brad Power, and he left for Toronto, so I took over his gig at the old Fat Cat. And just kept the boys with me, and that became the Skinny Gyms.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the old Fat Cat now is now the Black Sheep on George.
Yes.
And the Fat Cat, when we talk about blues bars, that was one of the biggest ones in St. John's.
Oh yeah, I was the only one by the time I got here. I mean, that was it, and that's where I cut my teeth. Really, that's where we headed. As soon as me and my brother got to town, we were like, "Fat Cat, that's where we got to go." There's a jam. And we just the first 2 times I was there, I met everybody that I ever did any business with musically, from Dennis Parker to Chris LeDrew, Jill Porter, Mark Neary, Mark Bragg, Colin Harris, Bob Pike, and Dan Smith, and everybody. Met everybody down there in the first week I was ever in this city to live. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned Mark Neary and Brad Power. You also had Elliot Diggs as part of one of your big breakthroughs in music. That's, of course, the rock band, the Novaks. And you've had about 4 or 5 albums out. The first one was 2005's, I forget the title already.
That's because there isn't one.
Oh, there isn't one?
It's self-titled.
Oh, that was a self-titled.
There you go. You did it all right.
Novaks. But, yeah. Listen, when you're dealing with a lot of people for releases and these interviews...
Oh, my God.
It's hard to maintain.
I don't remember.
But around 2005, the Novaks really came together, and you became one of the best rock bands to come out of Newfoundland and Labrador. You were really just well known for like that gritty, hard rock and roll.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about how the Novaks came together.
I had a band come out of high school called Sunday Noise, and we all kind of came in here together, and we played for a couple of years. But most of the boys were in school, a couple of boys working, and I was the only one who was going to see it through, I think. So when that split, I went off and made a little album called Persona, which I made at home on my 4-track machine.
Oh, wow.
Cassette 4-track. And it was just a little EP, but I didn't want to put my name on it, so I called it Persona as if it was a band, but it was just me playing everything. But then I needed a band to play those tracks, in the clubs, So I called up Chuck Tucker, who was my old friend from growing up in Wesleyville. And he was in, and Mark Neary approached me at the Fat Cat. He just said he liked my music, and if you ever want to do something, I was like, okay. And Elliot came about, I think he was just filling in for a night, but we really hit it off. And I thought, these are the guys that, if we're going to go anywhere, they're the right guys, and they're willing to go, And besides that, we were just a band. We played hard. We didn't do anything special. We didn't try to appease anybody, and we just got lucky. We got in front of the right people, and signed our record deals, and off we went. And then the next thing, it was passed to the States, and Steve Van Zandt got word of it, so he started playing us on his Wicked Cool Records, or the Underground Garage, rather. Wicked Cool Records was the name of the label, and we were the
Wow.
first or second band signed to it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that just all happened through classic, just word of mouth, people passing the CD around.
Yeah.
I mean, we did nothing. We did not kiss anybody's butt. I tell you, I mean, we didn't. We did the opposite. We were always ourselves, and we treated anybody we met. We treated them the same as anybody else. So we were lucky to get anywhere. But
Yeah.
in those days, it was more that way. You just be cool. That's all, and you'd be all right. You don't think about it too much.
Yeah, you still put in the work though, and while they may not have liked you, they had to respect you.
Maybe that's it.
For sure. Now, one of those opportunities you got playing with the Novaks, you got to open up for Kiss.
Yeah.
And I believe last year or two, you got to open up for Collective Soul at Iceberg Alley.
That's right.
And but I want to talk about Kiss for a moment, because when it comes to that band, they're one of the best hard rock bands that ever existed. And when it comes to personality, like, they're a cult personality on stage. So what was it like to open up for a band like Kiss?
Well, they were my favorite group. Well, they probably are my favorite group, if I'm honest about it. I mean, besides the Beatles and stuff. But, you know, me and my wife, Tracy, during the pandemic, we're just playing a game, trying to whittle down, you know, who is your favorite artist, who's your favorite group, and just by the classic Beatles or Stones, and you got to pick one. You don't get two. And we got hers, and then she said to me, I said, well, what would my top three be? And she said, every time you hear Kiss, you light up like a little boy on his birthday. Like, you know. I was like, okay, well, that's fair. You know. So we loved them. And Kiss taught us when we were young to put on a good show, no matter how many people or what the circumstances are. Very important. You don't play for 500 people and jump up and down, and then there's only 5 people in the room, so you put on a sad show because there's nobody there. That's not, if they came in and they paid their ticket, they should get the same show.
Exactly.
So that's what we learned from Kiss, I think, most importantly. So to open for them was a big thrill. I mean, I never thought that would happen. But at the same time, when you're in the business, we were opening up for so many bands all the time, and people you never thought you'd cross paths with, you know. It was just happening, and it didn't. We never got too excited about anything because it was just rolling. And the other thing, you know, because Kiss of all their different formations and stuff. Of course, I love like everybody else. You love the early incarnation with Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. So they weren't there, so that kind of stinks.
That sucks.
And but it's Kiss and Mega. I mean, the show was still ridiculous. I mean, it's like going to the circus. Paul Stanley's flying over your head on an iron bar, you know, singing Love Gun. So it's a spectacle. And I saw even my bandmates and people who only went for the spectacle kind of going like, oh, man, these guys are great. You know?
Yeah.
It might take seeing Kiss to get it, you know? Mm-hmm. But anyway, there was no interaction with the group. And of course, they came in, you know, we were barred from the backstage area once they were going on.
Wow.
And all that. So, and I didn't expect any more. So it wasn't... the biggest thing is to be able to say it. That's all. And we play with Kiss. It's just crazy.
It looks really
crazy
good on
with
the
a
resume.
K.
It looks really good on the resume.
Yes, it sure does. Yeah.
For sure. You also have opened up for bands like Psychedelic Furs and the White Stripes, and of course everyone knows the White Stripes for Seven Nation Army. But aside from all that, what do you enjoy most about the Novaks days when you guys were really hitting your stride?
I mean, we were just learning the whole time, you know? If we went back now, we'd be smarter and we'd know how to do things. It was just a learning curve. The first people we went out with was Matt Mays, who took us right out to Nanaimo and back. And they had it down. They'd been out a couple of years before. And so they sort of taught us how to do it. It's not like you're writing things down, or you just, each day goes by and you go, oh, this is how it goes, and this is how the sound check works, and this is how you deal with these people, and this is how you get paid, and all that. And so, again, it was just, we were just rolling through it. I don't recall being, you know, jumping up and down with excitement, or we were never that excited. It's just playing, doing it, playing the shows, being busy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No. That's fair that's fair to state there, because like, especially when you know, doing shows that you were doing, and like the fun you were having there, like, you know, it's hard to, like, you know, look back at all those moments. sometimes and say like, there was that one moment that really stuck out for me. And I did mention the moment where you opened up for Kiss too.
Yeah.
But really, you're just enjoying the ride and you're just having fun doing what you love to do best.
Yes, I think it's just a human nature, a tendency to look back at all the negative things, all the things you've done wrong, rather than all the great things that happened. I don't dwell on it or anything, but I'm kind of like that, and I don't live in the past too much. I'm more sentimental for the way the world was in general than for a certain time and place with certain people or being a certain age. I don't want to be 16 again, never. I don't want to be 30 again. I'm happy, growing and evolving and learning and hopefully getting better every year.
You're all about living in the moment.
Yeah, trying to.
Aren't we all, Mick? Aren't we all? Yeah. Now, one of the projects you've been working on for many years now is a group called Thin Love. It consists of yourself, Jill Porter, Alan Brake, and Craig Follett. Now, Alan Brake plays with the Anesthetists from time to time. Craig Follett's played with the Once from time to time. Jill Porter's a tremendously talented vocalist, and the harmonies that you guys have on songs off your new record are fantastic.
Thank you.
But tell me a little bit more about how this group Thin Love came together.
This is another period where the Novaks were at a standstill. I think I fired our manager and they dropped us from the label and all that, which is what I wanted. And then we didn't know what to do. It was weird around 2012, 2013. The industry was scared to death. There's no money. I mean, there's nobody. I think I feel like we were the last band ever to sign a kind of deal where there was some sort of advancement where somebody's kind of looking after you or helping you. At least, you got to pay it back, but at least somebody's going to help you make that album.
Yeah.
They're going to put you in a van. They're going to get you on the road. There was a bit more of that A&R feel back then. But now, I mean, every kid's got to be his own manager, his own accountant. He's got to do all that stuff himself.
Yeah, very DIY.
Yeah. So anyway, there was nothing going on, and we didn't know what to do. We had other labels that were interested, but they were kind of tiptoeing around. They weren't sure what to do either. And so I just started writing songs at home, I think for the first time, without any notion of it being played or the fruits of it, what was going to happen to it. I just started writing songs. I started to feel I was writing the best things ever because of that. Mm-hmm. There was no motive. And so I just started recording at home again on I had a digital 8-track machine, which is now way out of date already. I mean, it's 25 years old already. It's completely antiquated, but it still works. I still use it. And I made a series of albums on that were well received, even though most of it is in drum machine stuff and a lot of synths kind of sounds I don't think people expected from me. But so then again, I just needed a band to play it again. So that's what happened. And first we had Craig and Barry LeDrew. They're on the Touch the Moon album. And Barry moved to Halifax, and it took 2 people to replace him because he's a drummer, but he's a harmony singer as well. High harmony singer. So we got Alan because we were great mates to play drums, and I love him. He can really swing and play that 50s stuff great. Not that we're a 50s band, but if like the title track of Garbage Street, it's a very 50s send up,
like very swamp rock.
Yeah, and he plays that stuff so good. He loves all the old drummers. I love Little Richard's drummer, Earl Palmer, and Hal Blaine from the Wrecking Crew, and all these great drummers. So he was great. And then Jill hadn't been doing much for a while because she had a child, and I was looking after her for a few years. But then she was getting out there again, and I thought we had sang together for many years ago, and we'd done lots of duets, and we'd done like Everly Brothers tributes and all kinds of things. And so I just really wanted to sing with her again. I feel like we were born to sing together. Me and Jill, it's just you can't beat it. It's just, I don't know what it is but we have magic. And so I just wanted to have her in the band. And it's nice to have a woman in the band. Yeah, it's real nice. And it's a great band. There's no arguments. There's no nonsense at all. It's just fun, and everybody's excited all the time and looking forward to everything, and a lot of motivation.
Yeah, you don't have that pressure anymore of having to give expectations to like a label anymore, because around 2012 and 13 you were dropped from the label, and you didn't really have that pressure anymore to make music just because you had to, you wanted to then.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or even for a particular kind of sound, or for
Yeah.
a particular band, or anything like that. And that's continued. I just feel like the writing is getting better and better, which you would hope. Otherwise it's all. It'd be all pointless, wouldn't it? Yeah.
No, but it's amazing stuff, and the Garbage Street, really phenomenal album. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But I want to get your thoughts on what do you think about rock music today? Because as you said before, you guys said that you were like the last band from this province to get a record deal. So how do you feel about the rock music now in New Flannel, Labrador? What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I felt like it, that we were last person to get that kind of old school kind of deal.
Yeah, in the current industry at the time.
Yeah, but sorry, what was the question again?
No, just thoughts overall on the rock music of New Flannel, Labrador. Because
well,
when it comes to the music here from the rock point of view, there's some really good stuff coming out.
There is. There's always great music everywhere. You just got to look for it.
Exactly.
Big business will take and ruin everything. I sound like Lester Bangs here now, but that is true. So you got to go find these young guys who are doing it for the sake of doing it. But yeah, there's not a lot of rock and roll around. There's different forms of rock and roll. I mean, rock and roll is a form of a bunch of other things itself. But well, I'll tell you, my favorite right now is this new Len O'Neill album. It's stellar. It's
really good.
The whole record is great. It's honest. It's earnest. It's just all the right moves. Real cool. So I'm really glad to hear that. That's my favorite record lately. The Onces record is, you wouldn't call it rock and roll exactly, but their new album is just stunning. It's their best work.
Oh, phenomenal.
Mark Bragg's record that he put out last year is his best work. Just incredible. But now I don't get out much because I'm playing every night. So I'm sure there's lots of great rock bands around that I have not seen. One of my favorites of all time from here was Cujo, which my bass player Craig Follett was in as well. But the main guy, the singer, was Victor Lewis.
Okay.
Those guys, they came out around the time of the Novaks, and I always told them, I said, like, you guys should be the ones. They were really great. Really good band. And there's been lots of great bands, whatever Gene Brown's involved with. Jeremy, what was his name?
Harnum?
No, I don't know him. Anyway, I'm just muttering here now.
No.
But, rock and roll is alive and well. You just got to look a little harder.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just from dealing with some of the bands here that I've had in the podcast in previous episodes and previous newfound releases segments, a couple of great groups coming up right now. This Day have really started, get some momentum there. I think probably one of the best bands right now, or one of the most consistent bands come out of here is Fairgale. And what they've done when it comes to
I always like
music
Fair. I like them
out.
right off the bat. I haven't heard This Day yet. With Violet, I like.
They're great.
They're wild and really different and funky, and great singers. So you see, I like all kinds of music. It just has to be good aesthetically to me. That's all. I don't care what the genre is. Genres mean nothing. It's just boxing stuff up.
As long as you can pop your head to it, then it's good.
I don't want to. Let's not segregate music. Bring it all together.
For sure. Now, the new album from Thin Love is called Garbage Street. Of course, playing off that George Street title there. So, tell me a little bit more about recording this album and how you got the name Garbage Street.
Well, there's the title track is called Garbage Street, so that's how that came about, and it certainly came about being on George Street, and it's no big. I'm not trying to knock the association or people running or the bar owners. There's nothing to do with that. It's just a hub of madness right now because it's an entertainment district and it's there's people walking around with money, and so there's people walking around looking for money. We have a serious drug problem. We have a serious housing problem, and when the two come together, it's really nasty. So I wrote Garbage Street. It's basically the story of an addict who's scrounging around looking for food and drugs, and he dies and gets taken away, and nobody cares.
Wow.
So it's more on that end. There's not much of an opinion on anything. It's stating the obvious, really. But that was important to me, and there was a lot of madness going on the last couple of years. People getting beaten up and nearly killed and robbed, and it was a bit scary for a while. Um, so that's where that came from. But now the record is not a topical record. It's not a political record in any sense. That's the only song that touches on something like that. But I love that title, "Garbage Street." It just sounds badass,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
and it's become something that I use now for anything that I think is awful, or just you're having a bad time. Just say, "Oh man, that's Garbage Street." Oh, I don't want to do that. That's Garbage Street. So I like that. But the rest of the album is pretty melancholy, I guess. It's just a pop rock record. Some nice songs.
Yeah, there's some really good songs there too. Vibrations. One of the harder tracks on there is "If You Really Want to Know," and that's one of my favorites off that record. Sunday Blues on a Saturday Night, I think is what the last track on the album is called. That's another really good one too. Summer Came's another nice one. But if you had a favorite song off that record, what would that be and why?
I don't know if I can pick. It's hard to pick your own anyway, but I do like the whole thing. I do feel like it's my best work. My wife really likes it, and she's hard. She's played it over and over again and told me it's the best one, and she likes every song. It's an album. So that's good. I like Kids. That's the first one I wrote for the record. I wrote them all from May to November last year. So I'd write one, I'd send it over the phone to the band, just a guitar and vocal demo from my phone, and the band would learn it over the weekend at their jobs or at home, whatever they were doing, and we go in on a Monday or Tuesday night and record the whole song in about 3 hours. That's the way we did it. So there were no demo recordings, there was no rehearsals. So you hear it, you see a band that's become good friends, getting to know each other, mentally on stage. We know we're just becoming a good band.
Yeah.
And it helps because we all love each other so much.
And you know what to expect from each other.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the way we made it. Very old school. Nobody's making records like that anymore. Most everything is a live performance with a couple backing vocals stuck on, overdubbed, or a tambourine or a guitar solo. But a lot of it is the four of us in the room with me singing the lead vocal. Most people, you do a scratch while you're recording the band because of the bleed and all that. But we didn't do that. And I think it came out good. But I love doing. It's not that we're trying to do things quickly or rush it. It's just that I like doing things in the moment, as you said before, trying to live in the moment, where everybody's using their instinct, because we hardly know the songs. I hardly know the songs. I've just written the song. I have a lyric sheet because I've just written it. And, so a few months later, you might come down to a gig and I'm singing it way better than the record because now I've had rehearsal and I've done all that. But I love that we went in and we just use our gut. And whatever comes out, and you see that everybody's pretty pro because it turned out all right.
Yeah, and you said you recorded this like 4 of you guys in the room, just playing off the floor and stuff. Kind of goes back to the 1960s, where, as you said, one of your favorite bands, the Beatles, there recorded like "Please Please Me" in like a 14-hour session.
That's my favorite.
It's just like four people playing together, doing what they love to do, and just going off instinct, and not so much like recording separate vocals and taking like two months or maybe a year to record.
That's my favorite record of all time. So maybe there's something to that. But now the Beatles, of course, what they did, they played what they were playing in the clubs. I mean, they were playing 6 hours, 7 hours a night, every night, when they were playing in Hamburg and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just madness, and they were taking speed to stay up to do it. So they were ready, and that's how they did it one day, because they're basically playing their live show.
Yeah.
So this is a little different, and it took more time than 14 hours, but not much more. It was about 30 hours, I think it was, all together, because we didn't really book the studio for a lump of dates. We just, whenever I had a song, I called Christian Leslie, our engineer, and say, "Hey, can we come in next week?" Say, "Okay, sure." And we just do it. But I kept coming up with songs, which you never know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it felt like, okay, there's something happening. There's an album here. I didn't know where it was going. And when we got to 8 songs, I cut it and said, that feels good. I don't know if this is going to continue, but these songs sit well together. Let's call it there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I would imagine you're writing some more songs for any future projects you may have on the go, and I imagine you have some gigs booked for the summer now. So, what's next for Mick Davis?
Well, I'm always writing in a way. I mean, I'm always thinking about songs in my head, and I've got a couple new ones, but not like I'm not in any frenzy like I was last year. Not yet, because I'm so right now with the record coming out. I mean, it's well, there's a bit of work to do for that, and just relieved now that it's all out and all over, and just hopefully some good things come from it, and we'll get back to work again. But so always sort of writing and thinking about projects. And we'll be playing. I'm playing so much to make you sick. I'm the solo performances every week. Thin Love is opening for Bush and Big Sugar on June 23rd at Iceberg Alley, which is
that's awesome.
Wild show. Another one to add to the list. And we got a nice night at the Ship coming up for part of the folk festival. So the night Emmylou plays, we're playing the after party. So that's a great honor. And we got a Harborside Park booked for September, which I love to do that any year I can.
Oh yeah,
and play for the young people and the old people and the people who can't get to the bars.
Oh yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. So I hope we get nice weather for that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and that's about it for right now. But hopefully this record will stir up some more opportunities and.
Oh, I'm certain it will. And we're going to play the title track from this record, Garbage Street, coming up right after this conversation. Now, for people who want to find out more about any new music, any new gigs you got with the Skinny Gyms, Thin Love, or just by yourself, where can they go?
Well, you can find me. My handle on most all social media is Mick Davis 77. That's the year I was born. And so Instagram, Facebook has all that. My music is mickdavis.bandcamp.com. That's where you can buy the music. And if you want to hear the music or stream it, it's on every streaming platform on Earth.
Well, Mick, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Musical Connections podcast. Long overdue, and I just wanted to get you in for the right time, and no better time than to talk about this new record. Absolutely fantastic, and we're going to play a track from this coming up very, very shortly. So, Mick, thank you so much once again for joining me on the Musical Connections podcast.
Thanks for the good questionnaire.
Oh, yeah, and this is not your last time, I tell you that much.
All right, we'll do it again.